Then the third prize will be Fish Hackathon Global Finals participation. This final will invite with a 3-minute demo video, and the idea is that this fish hacking in general terms has the larger aqua economics context. So basically nobody's going to leave empty-handed here, but we are all eager to hear who's the best. So now it seems that everybody's here, and of course we still have some empty seats here in the front row because this is Finland. Well acclimatized for all our foreign guests. And so we'll kick this off, and first the speeches, and on the subject of the state of the Baltic Sea and its biggest challenges, ladies and gentlemen, welcome Marjukka Porvari.
Thank you. So good morning, everyone. Really nice to see a whole of young people eager to innovate and think for the future of the Baltic Sea here today. I come from Jon Nurminen Foundation, which is a Finnish private foundation. We had been protecting the cultural heritage of seafaring in Finland for some years in the beginning of 2000s, when the board of the foundation started feeling that it doesn't make sense to protect the heritage when the sea is dying in our eyes. So in 2005 we started Baltic Sea protection activities at the foundation, and we feel like soulmates to these innovative approaches and thinking of new ways of how to do things, because it is not very normal here in Finland that a private foundation like ours is having such a role in environmental protection issues. So we had this sort of attitude that everything is possible and let's try it, and we are happy to have been doing it now for almost 15 years. But now I have to say that I need this thing. Yeah, so our Baltic Sea, let me see. I see that my video is not working. Okay, anyways, this is our planet. And our Baltic Sea, which is part of this planet, is a very sort of multi-problem sea area. So there are a lot of problems that we have in this sea area, which are caused by its sort of environmental characteristics. Like, it's very closed, it's very shallow, the drainage area is quite large. We have almost 90 million people in this drainage area. So the loading that comes to the sea area is just too much. And although the sea has many problems, it is usually considered that eutrophication, sort of overload of nutrients to the sea, is the most difficult problem for the ecosystem of this sea area. And talking about the state of the sea today, I am really glad to say that it has improved a lot in certain areas. So especially in the Gulf of Finland, we have been able to reduce a lot of loading, 75% in just 10 years, by smart measures. And these measures were made in Russia. There were two large point sources that were loading this sea area. And one was wastewater treatment of St. Petersburg. And you can understand when you have 5 million people and they are all discharging sort of wastewaters which are not properly treated to the water area. So there you have a problem. So this was fixed by 2011, and it reduced 30% of the sort of eutrophying phosphorus loading to the sea area. So there we made the first step. And the second important thing was that we were able to sort of direct into treatment wastewaters, drainage waters, from a fertilizer factory which was situated in the, or is situated in the border of Estonia and Russia. And it appeared that these things that look like Alps in the background, they're actually phosphogypsum piles. And these waste piles were leaking like almost 3,000 tons of phosphorus to the Gulf of Finland annually. So now, because of these two important measures, we have been able to really improve the state of the Gulf of Finland, and you can really see it, especially in the eastern parts of the Gulf. But now, the western areas still look like this, unfortunately, and also the Baltic proper. So the situation is twofold. We have improved the situation in the Gulf of Finland, but the Baltic proper is still in a very bad condition. And also this affects then our archipelago sea and western waters. And if you have been sailing or boating in these waters, you have certainly seen this in the last summers also. So what is the reason behind this? What are the main causes? Let's start with nature. So one of the causes is the fact that because of the characteristics of the sea area, we have a lot of like old phosphorus, which is gathered in this Gotland bottoms, Gotland depths, and this old sins are coming back to us. So it has been compiling there for decades, and now what happens is that when we get sort of specific climatic conditions, for example, very strong eastern winds which push the surface water in the sea area towards west, then the sea sort of gets water from the bottoms, and these come directly from the Gotland depth. And these include huge amounts of phosphorus. So 2 years ago, we received some 10,000 tons of phosphorus in just 2 weeks via pearls like this. So this really is a problem. We have been working our foundation with Poland, with the Baltic states, with since. If the question is what to do with these, there is a lot of innovation and thinking going on about this right now. Also, we are participating in that. So things like sort of hoovering or dredging the old bottom sediments up, or using different materials to bind the phosphorus to the bottom sediments. But as of today, these are not yet ready for use. They have to be still investigated before they can be taken into full-scale use. So I think this was what I had to say about the state of the Baltic Sea today, and I'm looking forward to your great ideas and solutions, and I'm also really happy that we can provide you the opportunity to come and present your ideas in the Club Baltic Sea, which is a high-level stakeholder event. It will be in probably in August. And also, if you innovate things which have to do with nutrient loading and nutrient discharges reductions, then we have a new crowdfunding platform called Nutribute. So you can also try your ideas and try to get it there. Thank you.
Thank you, Marukka Porvari. So the good news is that you still have a lot of work to do and a lot of hacking to do until you're all unemployed. So if you manage to get unemployed during your lifetime, I think then you've just come up with something remarkable.
Good morning, and thank you. Is it? Can you show where it is? Okay. Let's go back. Yeah, my name is Petri Suur, and I'm coming from LUCEP, and we are working with natural resources, but we are only working with living resources, not with minerals and things like that. So this Blue Bioeconomy program is focusing mainly on fish, fisheries, aquaculture, and a new product of fisheries, or fisheries fish. But we include algae and things like that. And I will just tell you a few words about our program in LUCEP. First of all, EU has a Blue Growth Initiative, and you may have seen this. There are a lot of different policies, but everything is included in this Blue Growth idea. And you can see there is maritime spatial planning, things like that. And if you look the main component of blue growth in EU, it's about jobs, value-added products, and sustainability. And that is exactly where we work. And we really look for new innovation on these things. And if you look like 15 years from here, we will need 50% for more industrial symbiosis. We try to find new way of doing things so that we can combine different use and industries. For instance, we have now aquaculture combined with cell production in the pulp factory. And very important is this added value in the whole value chain. So we have to get more money, more value of the resources we have. Then some interesting, we try to restore our salmon stocks or salmonid stocks in the Baltic Sea. We have most rivers regulated with hydroelectric dams, etc. So we try to get those fish back, those stocks back into natural state or as good as possible. And we have very heavy multi-sectoral collaboration right now. And just this aquaculture, it's the most potential way of increasing food in the Baltic Sea and in the world. And if you look the beef production in the world and farmed fish, they were about the same in 2011. Now the farmed fish production is bigger than beef production globally. So the farming fish aquaculture is really big industry and growing. And it's the most potential way to feed the world. And this is just a picture from the newspaper, and it shows different way of increasing the production in aquaculture. And really, the modern aquaculture is no more a polluting industry. It's really trying to make the best to reduce the pollution, all kind of pollution, and be sustainable. And this is my last slide, and I wish you good luck. Thank you.
Mr. Petri Surne, thank you. And we'll go on with our speakers. And to explain about the Baltic Sea project of Ålandsbank, please welcome Krista Tammela.
Hi, my name is Krista Tammela, and I'm here to tell you about the Baltic Sea project. I work for the Bank of Åland with marketing and communications. And let's see how the clicker works. Is it like this? So, we work very widely with sustainability, and the Baltic Sea project is a part of our environmental responsibility. Anna-Maria Salonius, who is here on the picture, is the head of our Finland department. And she came up with the idea for the Baltic Sea project one summer when she was sailing. And she saw with her own eyes how bad the situation was and decided that something had to be done to save the Baltic Sea. And we had already worked with financing different environmental projects from the bank since 1997. But we decided to change our focus to help save the Baltic Sea. Through the Baltic Sea project, we fund different ideas and projects that help save the Baltic Sea. And we also want to raise awareness and engage people to save the Baltic Sea. And once every year, the Baltic Sea project is open for everyone, for any one of us to apply. And last year we donated 200,000 euros, and over time we had donated 1.6 million euros. We have 5 different categories in the Baltic Sea project, and last year we opened a new category for digital innovations, and we got 2 new jury members, Ilkka Paananen from Supercell and Niklas Sennström, co-founder of Skype. And in the summer 2016, we launched a new Baltic Sea card, which is biodegradable and made from maize. And the Baltic Sea card also counts the carbon footprint of your purchases. And let's see a video how it works. Can you press play?
A group of small islands in the middle of the Baltic Sea is home base for a local bank. For almost 100 years, it's supported the families of farmers, sailors and fishermen living from the sea. Now, with 90 million people living around the Baltic Sea coastline, dumping a mix of toxins into its waters, the situation is critical and oxygen levels are alarmingly low. The seabed is being strangled to death, and in parts, it's already dead.
It's obvious. In order to care for our customers, we need to care for the sea. As a bank, we analyze data to try to understand risks. We also wanted to apply this behavior in an environmental perspective, in order to influence everyday decisions made by our customers.
To enable this, the Bank of Åland developed the Baltic Sea Project credit card and the Åland Index. The index merges credit card transaction data with that of financial investment analysis and calculates the individual carbon footprint of each transaction. This alignment has created the world's first bank index for everyday environmental impact. The result is presented with a monthly bill, as are the options to compensate locally, globally, or by lifestyle. Over time, you can track and compare your behavior with the national average. For all the status levels, the bank is now replacing all its credit cards in Finland, and soon they will also be available in Sweden. But no man is an island. That's why the Bank of Åland is making the index available to any bank that believes that change is driven by insight, substantiated by data, and created together.
So, with the Baltic Sea card, we wanted to change consumer behavior, and I think that one very important thing is that we try to communicate with the normal people, so people that not usually spend time thinking about environmental issues. And I think it's really important because often communications about environmental issues is reached to those people who thinks about these things often. So I think it's very important that we reach out to everyone, because we need everyone's help to solve the problem. And I think that generally we all want to do good, but people are also a bit lazy. And I think that if we really want to get people to do something, to take action, it needs to be done very easy. And I am looking forward to hear your very interesting ideas and pitches today, and I hope that you will all apply for funding from the Baltic Sea Project in May. Thank you.
Thank you, Krista Tammela. And the fourth and last speaker is talking to us about blue bioeconomy and how the big picture, the policy can support sustainable action within the Baltic Sea region.
Thank you, Chair, and good morning to everybody. My name is Timo Hannen from Ministry of Agriculture and Forestry, and I work there as a ministerial advisor. And I also work partly in the Business Finland, which is a newly born agency in Finland, based on the Innovation Funding Center Tekes and our export agency Finpro, when they merged together in the beginning of this year. So, regarding the blue bioeconomy, our government adopted a national program for blue bioeconomy in the end of year 2016. And the definition of blue bioeconomy in this program is a business based on the sustainable use of renewable aquatic resource and water-related know-how. So it's a very wide definition. And we estimated that the current business related to the blue bioeconomy was about 8 to 9 billion euros in Finland. And the main sectors were fisheries value chain, water-related technology and know-how, and coastal and inland tourism, and energy. And we expected to see quite strong development in this area in the future. And especially regarding the global big picture. We believe that the water and aquatic resources and ecosystems are in the key role to solve global challenges. And there are, for example, regarding the UN Sustainable Development Goals, there are two focus on the water and aquatic environment. But as, for example, Petri Suuronen previously mentioned that, for example, aquaculture could play a significant role to increase the food production globally. And, for example, energy production, and also water has a key role in combating climate actions. So there's a huge business opportunities related to water and aquatic environment, but also very big risks, because it means that there is a much more human pressure on the vulnerable aquatic ecosystems. And that's why I think Finland and Baltic Sea could be kind of a test lab for developing sustainable solutions to global challenges. So, what are the role of the administration to boosting the sustainable growth? The first and the most important thing is that we must secure the sustainability and the good status of the environment and improvement the status of the aquatic environment. And the second one is naturally that we have to ensure that there's a fair competition between companies. But in the future, I think it's very important that the administration is a kind of enabler. We have to understand that the world is changing more rapidly than ever. And the key question is that how we can boost the new innovations and new solutions so that they're sustainable as well. And I think in this respect that we need to have a very strong public-private dialogue and cooperation and also co-creation. And I will take one example how we could change the current way of doing things. For example, in Finland, we use 35 billion euros for public purchase or public procurements annually. So it's a huge amount of investments to our society. And traditionally, public operator defines very precisely what kind of product, what kind of service he or she wants. And the focus is in the tender process. And the main idea is to avoid mistakes. And that's the main driver. But at the moment, we are trying to establish an innovative way to use these public procurements. And in this procedure, public operator communicates the challenge or need or thing where he wants to have a new solutions. And this means that we create a kind of innovation playground for private sector, so they can develop new products, new solutions, new ways to solve this challenge or thing what we want to achieve. And it also means that there's an incentive for companies to develop this kind of new services or new products after the tender process. So it's a win-win situation. Companies will get the new business opportunities and first references for export markets, and also administration and public bodies and society will get better services and better products. And I think this is a big picture also how we want to develop in the big context our society. We want to, in administration, we would like to communicate the challenges and we are open for new solutions in this way. So thank you, and I'm very excited to hear what kind of pitches and solutions you have in here. Thank you.
Thank you. And yeah, sorry, I didn't know Mr. Halonen was from the Ministry of Agriculture because it didn't say so on my paper. So I just, well, I knew that you weren't coming straight off the street since your name was in the paper. So, but yeah, sorry about that. And now we get to the pitching phase of the day. And first we have the policy pitches. We have 3 teams, and because policies are a bit more complex than singular innovations, the pitching for the policies has 4 minutes. So each pitch is 4 minutes of pitching, and then there's 5 minutes of questions. So we will start with the first policy pitch, and then listen carefully and shoot hard when it comes time for the questions. So I guess the first policy pitchers know who you are, so please take the stage.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Siiri Heikkilä, and I'm here to present my team's ideas for the policy challenge. Isn't it strange that we all recognize that eutrophication is the prominent challenge facing the Baltic Sea, and yet we're using our tax money to feed the problem? I'm here to explain how. 97% of the Baltic Sea is affected by eutrophication, which directly impacts the ecosystem services and biodiversity that our life here in Finland depends upon. It's primarily caused by the nutrient leaks from agricultural industry, primarily land-based agriculture, for example, dairy cattle farming. So that's because dairy cattle need lots of land to be fed. Here in Finland, we spent 325 million euros in 2018 to fund agricultural subsidies, and our solution would be to reallocate these subsidies from traditional farming practices towards economically and ecologically friendly, new, innovative agricultural solutions. So currently, agricultural subsidies are allocated based on land area and animal head count. And our solution would be to introduce an environmental performance coefficient into the equation that would incentivize farmers to consider environmental performance and innovate, which would result in competition and employment opportunities and saving natural resources. So the kind of innovations we're talking about are, for example, diversification of production. So for example, at a farm, instead of having 100% cattle, you'd have 80% cattle and 20% strawberries. Then permaculture, which is self-sufficient agriculture. so creating mini ecosystems. And lastly, novel foods products, like, for example, UV-treated food. The value of our proposal is that movement away from traditional agricultural processes would reduce the nutrient leak into the Baltic, which then in turn leads to a cleaner Baltic Sea. The cleaner Baltic Sea would then obviously provide new opportunities for business in and from the Baltic. Lastly, why the urgency?
Thank you, Baltic Builders, and please stay on the stage. So there's 5 minutes for questions.
Can I have
So the rest of the team comes and
brilliant.
so take your positions. I have the microphone here, so the ones with the questions, please raise your hand so I'll pass the mic.
I can maybe comment from my side that I have to say that this is a very to the point proposal, and you are not the first one to say this aloud, and you are very brave to say this, and this is actually a key issue. So good job. You have found out what is the main sort of the main at the same time main cause, and also the main instrument for doing something about it. Good job.
Thank you.
I could also say that I think that this is a great idea to incent farmers to change their focus to match up with our needs and the world changing. And maybe I could give you the opportunity now to tell why now, because you had a question that wasn't told, so maybe you could answer that question.
Right. So the EU is currently renegotiating its common agricultural policy, which is due a reform in 2020, and member states are obviously allowed to contribute. So I feel like if Finland wants to be the forerunner in sustainable innovation, now is the time to go in.
Thank you.
Thank you for excellent pitch, and I totally agree with the previous speakers that this is a very crucial issue which we have to tackle. I just wanted to point out that actually this is a very politically sensitive issue because the agriculture is more or less in the economic crisis at the moment, so it might be difficult to change the whole system right away. So maybe it might be a good idea to start with some kind of piloting issues and try to develop in that way, kind of learning by doing, and to get the farmers on board with this kind of thinking. So that
May I comment?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly what we're aware of it, and we want to stress that we're not trying to remove the current funding from the current farmers, because we know that it's a, it's an important issue, and it's important to support the farming industry in Finland. What we are encouraging, however, is if you're a farmer who does environmental practices, so has these green areas that aren't being farmed and aren't being polluted, or if you use cover crops, for example, over winter to make sure the nutrients remain in the land instead of leak into the surrounding rivers and surrounding seas, then we provide this extra funding, or we could have this extra money within this subsidy system. And the way we see it, we do see it as a pilot study first. So instead of directing it away straight away, or like next year, for example, having a little pocket of the funding allocated to a few pilot farms, see how that works, see how the application process works. So a lot of problems with the sustainability or the environmental subsidy applications today, it's a lot of bureaucracy. So we're suggesting a much simpler and easy application form that a farmer would find it quite easy to fill in, and then hopefully that would kind of show that it is possible and is plausible, and then other farmers like nationwide and hopefully EU-wide would join in.
Yeah, I just want to add that the farming is very low marginal business, so you have to probably keep the money in that business, just reorientate to to the sustainable farming. But I think you have to do it in the whole Baltic. And you should maybe have a pilot in each Baltic countries. Would be even better.
Yeah, well, agriculture in Finland is not a business at all, and that comes to the timing as well. Like, we think it's kind of a really good timing, actually, because either in ecological or economical terms, it's not sustainable. It's not business, and it's actually destroying the Baltic here. And yeah, that's what you said about doing it like Baltic-wide. That was the approach, and it's also like related to the what she's just said about like Finland really taking the initiative to actually like show the example, and which could also create new business opportunities in exporting this know-how to the other Baltic countries around.
Thank you, Baltic Builders. Thank you, jurors. And that was our 5 minutes of questioning. So please take your seats. And the policy pitches continue. Next up is a group called Säätäjät. And those of us who are not naturalized Finnish speakers, so basically when you start learning the finesses of Finnish language, do understand that Säätäjät doesn't always have only the positive connotation. So,
hello everybody, my name is Jonna Kangasoja. And I've been thrilled by the wild ideas that I've been hearing during this weekend. Of course, we all know that the next real challenge, the deep challenge, yes, there's a deep challenge, but the real challenge for each of these business ideas will be whether there's a business case, whether there's the public acceptance by the consumers, whether it's technologically sound. But even after that, what will actually be decisive for each and every one of these ideas that we will be hearing more about today is whether how it meets how the administration takes it. So whether the idea will fly or actually swim or float will be decisive on whether it gets a permit. Often it's in the form of a permit for operating, an environmental permit or an other permit. So that concerns every one of you out there who have a great business idea for sustainable business for the Baltic Sea. What is happening today is that some of the early movers, some of the early entrepreneurs are finding it so difficult to obtain a permit. For example, some of the fish farmers are rather taking their businesses to Sweden because it takes so long time to get a permit to operate, or they don't get it at all. So our team is not a team of deregulation, let's just abolish all regulation. That's not at all what we are after. But we think that it's time for a policy reform, transformation. Actually, it's a very fundamental way of operating differently than what we have been doing so far, which is the collaborative mode of governing. And what it could mean is that instead of the different branches of administration, even the levels, the lawmakers, the permitters, who now seem to sort of be working independently, and at times it feels as if they are working against each other, would work together. And one concrete solution or proposal we have for the people sitting in the front row and also others is that we would establish a Baltic Sea collaborative platform as a concrete place where the regulators, the lawmakers from the different ministries and the permitting authorities from the regional authorities and the different groups of advisors, these are the scientists, some of the branches of business who take care of the interest of their own groups, and then even the entrepreneurs who are in fields that do not exist yet. They don't have a ready-made spokesperson, but they need to be heard. That they would, this is the platform. It's a cross-sectoral collaborative platform, just as Timo was just mentioning over here. We could probably have funds for one of them, so it would be a national organ. But of course, it would have to feed into the regional needs. So for those startups, entrepreneurs who need what if they would rather get advice while they are thinking of applying for a permit and making their business idea more solid so that it actually takes into account both the natural, economical and other aspects, then what now happens is that they get a waiting time after they've submitted the application, and then it's either a yes or a no. Okay, so thank you very much. Let's weave a net together and not let those wild ideas, well, let's not lose them.
Thank you, säätäjät. And please, it's question time. It's
question
time.
time.
So, jurors, please.
Thank you for a good pitch. I was wondering that if this platform, is it more focused on new entrepreneurs getting their ideas out there, or is it more on how you could make a change on a political level?
Actually, the latter one, but it has direct impact on the new entrepreneurs getting out there. So if there would be a body which could collaboratively decide, for example, what are the critical factors when you do permitting, what are the parameters that need to be followed and measured, how to direct subsidies, where the focus of R&D funding, for example, is, then it has direct impact. If that would be decided collaboratively in the forum, then it would have a faster effect on the newcomers to the market.
Thank you.
Thank you for excellent pitch again. And I think your idea is a very important one, and we have thought about this kind of transition forum as well in the ministry, and also together with the Ministry of Environment regarding the maritime spatial planning. And the idea is that how to boost sustainable blue growth and how to boost this kind of systemic change. And I think it's crucial that we get all the actors on board to think about the concrete proposals, how to tackle those problems and how to boost new solutions. So, very good.
Yeah, I would like to make the point that in the aquaculture in the Baltic Sea, this is really something that is needed, because we really suffer now of this poor collaboration between different authorities and also between different actors. So that's limiting our potential to actually reach our goals.
Say one comment also to the first question, that our idea was also that not to have hands tied as much, because with the collaboration there will be different levels and nobody would have to say, I don't know, I can't do anything with this.
I also support the idea very much. I think this is also one of the root causes, not only for our environmental problems, but also for our societal problems in general. So in Finland we tend to work very much in our silos, and I feel really guilty also for that, because you tend to be so busy with your own things that you don't often have time, but you should have time, because that is the key. Collaboration is the key, and we have seen the results in our work of doing things in separate silos and not talking to each other. For example, in permitting of wastewater treatment plants, you can make really stupid decisions when you don't see the whole picture.
So we were even thinking or innovating. There was a lot of time for us to innovate. We were even thinking the very nature of the permit. What if it were an instrument that was alive and it could somehow react to changes in the as new scientific information comes in, or something changes in the operation, so that it would be a relationship between the authority and the business. Yeah.
Sounds very relevant to me.
So, anything from the audience? Our jurors are now, they've shot their clips empty on this case. So, anybody out there? No, I must then take this as a sort of like a compliment that you were so thorough with your pitch that 2 minutes and...
Actually, I could say the ask, which is that We know of we have benchmarked such collaborative bodies, and the next time you will be getting together to think about this issue, whether it be related to this marine spatial planning collaborations on a national level or in the regional level, or the pre-permitting pilot that you have, please invite us in. We have still much more to say than what 4 minutes was.
All right, thank you. Thank you. Säätäjät. So it's time for the third and last policy pitch. So far, challenge is, or the pitches have challenged the farmers and the bureaucrats, two of the most stubborn breed of human beings. So let's see where the third pitch leads us. But I was supposed to mention this already earlier, but I'm saying it now. The whole Deep Sunday will be sent through Helsinki Think Company web pages. So if you have sort of like fans and friends and relatives back home who are interested to know how you spend your time on this Sunday, you can let them know that they have the chance to participate to this occasion through the marvelous internet. So just so you know, you can social media post that everybody knows that you're the main draw of the internet today. And so the third and last policy pitch comes from nutrition neutrals.
Hello, Baltic family. My name is Rasmus Booman, and I'm here to represent the nutrient neutrals. People keep asking me why did I apply to the Deep Challenge. Well, let me explain. I'm a marine biologist, and for the most part of last summer, I spent working in the field. I love scuba diving, but here it's not that nice. The absolute least favorite part of my day was when I had to go in there. And I think we can all agree that we have to do something about it. We are about to hear 9 amazing pitches, awesome startup ideas, but we think that we need to change the policies behind all of this for order us to succeed. So we wanted to focus on our group in the nutrients that are already in the water. We want to take them out. Here's our solutions. First, and the most important is, we want to enable nutrient trade, whether it's by compensations or perhaps an interaction between different companies. We need to allow it. Sounds complicated? Well, not really. There's already carbon trading, carbon emissions and carbon dioxide. So we just take the C and the O and we switch them to N and P. Problem solved. And the second issue, we need to start funding the private sector R&D that is focused in blue bioeconomy. How many of here play poker? Woo! In poker, when you have the best hand, you have to go all in. And we believe that blue bioeconomy is our best hand at the moment. The third issue is to recognize the value that lies in the bottom of the sea. We need to boost value of sea-based products. Whether it's nudging Baltic herring to our school lunches, or perhaps a certificate to reward nutrient-neutral products and companies. This is extremely important. So the next time when somebody asks me to go diving in there, I want it to look like this. Thank you.
Thank you, nutrient neutrals, and jurors, please.
Thanks a lot. Excellent. And I think we will hire you as a spokesman for Blue Bioeconomy. Excellent work. So these ideas are again very relevant, and we are talking about these kind of issues in our ministry as well. But maybe you could maybe a little bit elaborate about the idea how to enable this kind of nutrient trade or this kind of compensation system in practice.
Yeah, well, this was a discussion on, because currently when you're developing companies developing a good product that takes removes the nutrients from the sea and use it to produce something new. So basically, the company they don't have that any kind of recognition, for example, from the government or the regional, or often even from the funding authorities, that this is this product also includes that the element of protecting the environment. So that's something that we should be able to include also in the economic side of the product. So that's, in a way, how we incorporate it. That's the question, how we do that. For example, in incentive level in administration, for example, how we support the corporate activities. But this is how can be done without distorting the competition. That's like my question for you.
Thank you. Excellent pitch. I was wondering, you mentioned three themes in this pitch, and I was wondering if one of them is more important, that you are thinking that is the main issue, or do you see that all these three somehow goes together, or how would you see your focus?
I would say that the creating value is not pure policy. It's more also on the side of companies, but there could be like a national interest and some kind of campaign. But for me, I would say that the allowing of nutrient trading would create opportunities that we cannot even think about yet. So for me, at least, the nutrient trading or compensation system would be the most important.
And also this nutrient trade, even if it would start on a national level, there's potential to expand it then within the EU, HELCOM, and even globally, like the carbon trade.
Yeah, I think this was excellent idea, and I think the nutrient has a value. The main issue is that it's really, really difficult to remove from the sea. So maybe the focus have to be not to get nutrients in the sea, but we still have plenty of nutrients we have to remove. And I think there are some initiatives going on how actually you can make it a business to remove it. And I think those ideas coming from Sweden, but maybe we should also try to do it in Finland.
I think that there are a lot of ideas coming up that take out the algae or different kind of biomasses, and when our visions, it could be somehow compensated to the agricultural, they could pay the people who take the algae as nutrients, for example, on an ideal level.
Yeah, concerning this, like how to create value for the nutrients which you take from the sea, I think we have already succeeded. We took away roach and sort of other undervalued species by our foundation, and we managed to create a consumer product. So it is doable, at least in some cases, and it's also amazing because we have been developing nutrient trading for some time, and that's why we have a project which is called NutriTrade. So after this pitch, I think we need to have a consultation with you and hear about Perfect. Your ideas like more closely. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, I would still like to add, so about the criticism that it's maybe difficult. I think our team and project was quite also inspired by things that are quite new at the moment, but that we've heard about. So for instance, not only taking out fish as biomass, but also there are projects starting on using deep sea nutritious water for agriculture. And here in Finland, people don't use much macroalgae, kelp for fertilizer, but it's used in other areas. So I think there's a lot of potential.
Thank you.
you.
That was exact. You went silent on the 5-minute mark, exactly. So here were the policy pitches, and then we move on to sustainable business track pitches, and those we have 9 altogether. And hold on a second. One of those business things could be that, for an MC, a third hand would be useful every now and then. So maybe I'll wait for the biomechanics the hackathon for that. But so for the business track, we are looking for solutions for a cleaner Baltic Sea or new food and non-food products from fish, algae, and aquatic plants. And the first one to pitch, and these will be 3-minute pitches, because, like I said earlier, policies are a bit more complex, even though business is not easy either. So the first one is Aqua Drone.
Hello everyone, my name is Lauri Paloheimo and I'm here representing our solution Aquadrone, and we are here to clean the Baltic Sea for good. So, question for you, raise your hand if you feel comfortable with the idea of either your children or pets going to swim in the Baltic Sea infested with blue-green algae, known also as sinilevä. No one. Amazing. All of you passed the psychopathy test. So, as was stated before, one of the major causes of the eutrophication comes from the agriculture, mainly the chemical fertilizers. And our solution, Aquadrone, aims to solve that. Aquadrone is a wind-powered, cost and energy-efficient way of collecting the algae all from the fresh waters, oceans, and also the shorelines of the Baltic Sea. We aim to commercialize it for consumers who can take it with them to the summer cottages, and also to corporations and governments for the more open sea operations. So, as stated before, the vicious cycle from chemical fertilizers leads to algae blooms. So we aim to end the cycle with Aquadrone, which collects the algae, and then we transform it to biofertilizers, as it is non-toxic for plants and also has superior nutritious quality, and with the end product we decrease the eutrophication long-term by popularizing it for farmers. We already have our underwater wheels spinning, as we have arranged a pilot with the fertilizer corporation Kekkilä for our biofertilizer made from algae, and we will be using the patented technology for algae collection of Salo Oy, an engineering office here from Finland. We are looking for between 50 to 100,000 euros, either from crowdfunding investments and project grant, to validate our solution. Then we want to scale to governmental funding, to the open sea operations, start competing against the chemical fertilizers with our biofertilizer, and then mass produce the drones for consumer production so every cottage can have their own. This is our team coming from very diverse backgrounds. For example, sales, entrepreneurship, IT, engineering, biology, marketing, and also pharmacy. So this is our solution to clean the Baltic Sea for good, both the root cause and the effect. We are ready for questions now, and I'm asking my team to join me here on the stage. Thank you.
Wow, I have to say that I'm super impressed by the pitch and by the idea. This is amazing, really. I have a lot of questions, but maybe I will focus on one question to start with. You mentioned that this would be something for everyone to maybe have on their cottages. Yes. What size is this machine?
I will give this to our engineer at this point.
Thank you. Okay. And would it be like how affordable for the big
Yeah, the idea is like the right now solution is like huge cheap with very expensive technology and is massive that it cannot go to the coast. The idea is to make an autonomous drone that is right now the scale is 45 centimeters long per 90, including the sailing part. And the idea is that it will be like really easy manufacture, like 3D printing, and it will be like really easy to make, open source hardware, and yeah, the idea is like instead of having a massive chip of 3 million, 4 million or more euros, you have these mini drones everywhere cleaning and saving the Baltic Sea.
And also to add on that, our competitive advantage to larger ships is that because we are automated, so it's very cost efficient, and because it's wind powered, so you can just get the drones to the water and let them do their job for the whole summertime, either on the surface of your cottage or even on the open sea.
Yeah, it's actually sound very good idea. Do you have any estimate how many drones you will need to make any impact?
Okay, we are talking about like 2 month seasons, 60 days. And we were thinking like in a rough estimation, each of them in the actual size with the average speed of the wind, we will have a force of between half of kilogram to 1 kilogram of algae collection. So that represents at least 550 grams to 100, which if you multiply by 100 drones or 1,000 drones doing the work in 60 days, that at least they can do 100 trips amount of all of them, you will have 5 tons to 10 tons of algae. Dry out, already to be fertilizers.
Yeah, it was a beautiful pitch. I have to say that the future is in our young generation. Looking into like my generation's talks and pitches, I think you are really skilled in this. So I have to learn from you. But my question goes to your maybe biochemist in your group. So concerning this algae, because cyanobacteria contain also neurotoxins, and some of these are very strong and also harmful. So how do they degrade? How you can take out them from the fertilizer product?
Well, first of all, if we use the algae for fertilizers, the toxins are not harmful for the food or the vegetables, and they will degrade by time on the ground. So that's not a problem. And we can also try and separate the toxins from there.
So yes, it's actually very good for the soil, and the end product of the crops does not harm, the neurotoxins does not harm any sort of being with the nervous system, including animals and humans. And also, yes, as he stated before, there is actually quite a huge potential in algae for making medicines or chemicals also if you extract them out of it. And we are also looking for those kinds of solutions, but right now the core is in fertilizers, as that seems to have a huge potential in ending the eutrophication cycle in the long term.
Thank you. You went 30 seconds over, but I figured since our government this week made an initiative to the European Parliament to get rid of the daylight savings time, and you guys come up with this. I'm not saying anything. I just sort of like wanted to make the comparison. But thank you.
Thank you.
And next up is Bivalvia.
All right. Hi, everyone. Thanks for having us. We are Bivalvia. My name is Anna, and I'm here to tell you a story. Imagine a hot summer's day. You're looking out over the Baltic Sea and you just want to go for a swim. But you can't, because we have a serious problem in the Baltic Sea. We have too much nutrients in the Baltic Sea. We have too much algae in the Baltic Sea. And this is algae that we can see, we can feel, and we can harvest. And by doing that, we remove nutrients from the water, and we remove algae. And we can incorporate the algae into products. We know this is doable, it's possible, but does it work with the algae that we have in the Baltic Sea? That's what we want to test, and that's our idea to make an impact. So let's see what we could do with an average patch of filamentous drifting algae in the Baltic Sea with a dry weight of 5 kilograms. We could make 40,500 buttons, or we could make 750 sunglasses. But let's face it, we're never going to solve the Baltic Sea problems by simply adding new technologies, new tools, and new products. We need to change opinion. We need to increase awareness, because the problem is our human actions. So that's why our products come with a story. We create impact through scientific storytelling. So, to make this all happen, we need some funding. Funding to test our idea. Thank you.
Minutes up.
Thank you.
Thanks.
And I think you're again to the point. You hit the point that we need to raise the awareness.
Yes.
But could you a little bit elaborate what you need? You need funding?
Yes, please. Yeah, we need funding to test the algae, if the algae works that we have in the Baltic Sea, the filamentous algae, the annual algae. We need to pilot the processing of these algae into the 2 different products that we suggested. And we need funding to do the prototypes.
Okay.
There's a reason of picking that specific algae because it's harvestable. You can pick it by hand, basically, you can reach it.
Okay.
So is your business idea to sell buttons and sunglasses, or what's your business idea? What kind of products are you going to sell when you have tested this material?
The idea is to get them into 2 different prototypes and products that we just suggested. But of course, our idea is to make a smart new material, smart new way to do whatever you like from the Baltic Sea, such as a credit card. Why not have a credit card that is made from algae from the Baltic Sea, which takes away nutrients and also biomass from the sea, and keeps it away, actually.
And the sunglasses are made by 3D printing, meaning we can customize them and we can change the process. We need to find out the material that can be made from the Baltic Sea algae so that we can actually do this.
We have a bulk product, such as the buttons, and we have premium custom-made products, such as the sunglasses.
If I may, so how mature is the technology? Do you need a research and development funding or just piloting
this is doable. We know that it's doable. We can print by using this algae. We don't know if the algae in our sea does work, but we know that the same species, no, not the same species, but the same family, the same type of algae, same type of macroalgae, is usable already today to print, for example, 3D print products. So. Yeah, our chemist is into. We have a quite cross-disciplinary team. I'm a marine biologist. We have an engineer. We have a chemist and a art musician.
Well, it sounds really fantastic if you could also substitute plastic materials
exactly.
with this, because that's one of the problems in the big oceans especially.
Exactly.
So that's of course an added value also.
Yeah, our target of a challenge here now is of course to remove the nutrients, because that's always what we do with the algae. But this is tackling plastic problem. It's also tackling carbon and coal dioxide and climate change in that way.
And quite nice summer jobs for quite many people at the same time,
Yeah,
because
obviously
having new swimsuits and harvesting this algae would be at least my dream summer job.
Obviously, this creates value also in bringing ways of keeping a sustainable archipelago life, because the fishermen can catch the algae, and we can have local craftsmen 3D printing sunglasses locally there. So this also created local business opportunities. And of course, at this point, you can only mix a certain amount of this algae into the plastics. Our aim is making 100% algae sourced, or at least Baltic Sea sourced sunglasses. Might be we can use something else from the sea when we get that far.
But I want to just remind you that we also want to make an opinion. We want to change the opinion. We want to, by, for example, having a video or measurements that is real time. You can just look at your product and go back and look at the facts. What does this help? And also get a completely new understanding of the sea.
I was just going to ask one more question. You mentioned that you needed funding for different things, but are you still in a idea level, or have you started piloting anything?
We haven't piloted. We know how to do it. We know 3D printing. We have the chemist knowing the substances. We know who to collaborate with to make the first prototypes so that we can test this. What we need is the algae species from the Baltic Sea, and make sure that those work with this concept, and make our own recipe for this.
So we have a time plan, and we have an idea. We need some funding.
Yeah, and we have the expertise.
And what kind of funding you are expecting to have?
Like a pilot project funding.
What about the size of the funding?
Size 150,000 euros for making the first, getting to a step where we can promote our first limited edition sunglass amount for.
Do you have our own funding as well?
Okay.
You got to talk about the money, so you got far enough. And the pitches continue. And next up, ladies and gentlemen, deep breath.
Thank you. Sorry. Dear ladies and gentlemen, let us introduce our novel tool to monitor dead zones in the Baltic Sea. So the first thing, probably I need to say it here, the first thing here is that the zones are decreasing in size, the hypoxic zones decreasing in size. At some point it doesn't work, the animation. And the bad thing that the government is decreasing amount of money for the environmental research, and even so simple thing as monitoring, as data collection is now kind of very cost sensitive. And to this end, we would like to say why data collection is important. First of all, we need to monitor environmental changes. Second, we need to identify factors which cause these changes, and then we need to predict further changes and consequences which can be caused and which can damage our environment or economy of countries. And the most important thing that we need to evaluate practical questions because there are hundreds of different applications, but we need to have very long-term measurements with real-time measurements with a lot of sample points. And of course, it's super expensive with our commercial applications, but we can do it because we created a very low-cost device which can work for 1 year independently, so it's autonomic and it's easy to customize. You can attach any sensor, so it's not only about hypoxia, but it's about any environmental studies, but we are concerning about hypoxia in this pitch. And then the next thing that it can be, it sends data to satellite or to mobile network, and the data are immediately ready in there in real time. And then the next step that we want to offer, then we want to offer consultancy. Then we are kind of service team. We provide service-oriented team. We provide different options. We probably even make this as 0% retail price at the beginning, and then we include monthly fee for the license for all of these services. And the next step that our potential customers are environmental agencies, marine companies, then aquaculture sector, and of course general public. And future prospects are basically we would like to start from the small project in Helsinki area to get some governmental support, and then to develop our idea and go further. And we hope that these benthic organisms, they will breathe deeper, better after our innovations. And thank you for your attention.
Time's up. So, jurors.
Thank you very much. This sounds very interesting. I was wondering that what all kind of data does your machine gather?
Yeah, basically this is a pilot prototype. It's just oxygen, temperature, CO2, and some other things. But basically, you can attach any sensor which exists on the market. So you need just to work a bit with comparability of these
and
devices.
Is the cost of the machine the same, or does it vary?
It depends how many sensors do you have. So it doesn't matter how the variation in it doesn't depend on the sensor. It depends on the number of sensors. But it can in our pilot studies it can be up to 8 sensors at the same time. And imagine if you have 100 devices, you can cover the whole Baltic Sea with very high density map, and you get your data immediately, and you can see some kind of problems immediately, or that you apply this solution and it works or it doesn't work. You will not waste money.
Thank you. Excellent idea. And could you a little bit tell about the operational costs? How big are they?
Oh, the price.
Operational cost or
operational cost. Oh, you mean
how often you have to recharge the battery or
it's
that kind of thing?
Yes, you need to probably come to this to the buoy every 3 months, just to clean sensors. But don't change anything, just to kind of take it up, clean sensors, and put it back. And but then you need to send to us this box, or we can come there, and we will exchange sensors, because the guarantee is only for 1 year. So you need to exchange it once per year, at least caps of the sensors, because they will be damaged.
Okay, it sounds quite cost efficient.
That's why we have monthly fee, not like not the we sell data, not the products.
Excellent. I think it's a very good idea. And you expect to see the markets in the Finland, but I think the whole Baltic Sea could be quite relevant, and maybe also other sea areas as well.
Yes.
So
yes.
Do you have what kind of plans you have in the future? Testing the Baltic Sea area and
testing the Helsinki area with local governmental support, and then go to the Baltic Sea scale. And if it works and if everyone is happy, then we go, of course, to the worldwide kind of market. Because this problem is the same in Japanese Sea, in Mexican Bay, and it's quite typical, unfortunately.
Yes, I know that there are some continuous sampling sort of equipment for surface waters, but this is you don't know that there would be anything like this for the bottom sediments that exist.
Yes, if I can go back, I just wanted to say, yes, this is basically the company is Meri Taito, right? And they have buoys. And the first idea is just to attach our box to their buoys and buy and sell them our data, and then they resell this data to customers. So this is kind of very easy solution to start up. But then we need some support, some investors. So it's just question of support. Yeah.
Sounds good.
Yeah, just want to make a note that this problem is not only the deep water problem, it's in the Baltic actually coming to shallow waters too.
Yeah,
and I think you have a very wide opportunities.
Yes, exactly. Another idea, again, it's a pilot project, but the another idea is to attach here a motor, and then this motor will kind of every hour go up, not go up, but takes it up and takes it down, and then we can measure all layers independently every 10 minutes, let's say. So it's possible, but it needs more time and money investments.
And now you're out of time.
Thank you.
And the next pitch comes from... is there a doctor who writes these names? Inner Mint, I think. I'm sorry if I announce you. Increment. All right. Yeah, it was C, not an E. But hey, here we go. Increment. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Adi. I'm representing Team Increment. We're looking to implement a technological solution to reduce perishable food waste, which will help combat climate change, which affects the Baltic Sea. So why did we form this team? We believe in incrementally discounting the price of perishable food to increase consumer demand for them later on in its cycle. By doing this, we reduce inventory loss for the supermarkets, which we are catering to, as well as cost of disposal for retailers. So the current system is a binary system, which you probably all know when you shop at the stores. You see those red stickers on the last day with either 30% or even up to 60% discounting. And we as a team, we don't think it's fair for consumers to pay the same price on day zero for a fresh product and pay this for an older product 3 days later the same price, because the lifespan of the product is less, so the price should actually reflect that, but currently it does not. And as we said before, unsold perishables results in loss for the retailer and also impacts the environment. So what's our offering? It's an app. Our app is a grocery shopping application which has 3 principles. First, we wish to integrate real time with the inventory systems of the grocery stores. Second, we want shoppers to be able to buy either fresh food at full price or aged perishable food at a discounted price. And lastly, customers can decide whether they want to pick up the food for a lesser amount or whether they want to get it delivered to their home for a slightly greater amount. And in terms of the potential of this market, we know that about 18% of finished food waste is from the retail sector, and most of this waste comes from perishables such as meat, bread, fish, etc. And based on the statistics we've come across, comes out to approximately 36 million euros lost. Okay, and what we need, I guess, is both feedback in terms of our idea, kind of potential shortcomings and ways in which we can improve it, as well as a technical resource to help us develop this, ideally if they have some experience in the food space. So that is our idea. Thanks for listening, and we'll now take some questions.
Thank you. I think it's a great idea, and this topic, this issue is very topical at the moment. Like food waste is one of the issues that the government is also tackling with, and I cannot provide you with any technical advice, unfortunately, but my advice would be to go to these chains like K chain and S chain, and sort of understand their way of thinking and pricing, and like. I think the key issue is how well the shop owners can adapt these to their practices, and you know that the market's competition situation is tight, and K and S are here in Finland tightly competing with others and then with each other and also other chains. So that the sort of acceptance from these chains is the key issue from the grocery chains.
Yes, thanks.
Yeah, I think this is a good idea. You know, in the global level, I think somewhere like 1/3 of the food is wasted.
Yeah, exactly.
So people really feel bad about this thing, and people, I think, would be really willing to find a solution.
Thank you. I think that this is addressing a serious issue. And I was wondering, did I get it correctly that you would be like a store in an app that sells every product from every market, and you would also push for the food that is getting old? Because you said that you would sell fresh fruits and vegetable, but also the things that are getting older. So how would that work? How would you see?
The way we imagine this is having the option to increase or decrease the lifespan of the product that you're gonna buy. Could be a bar or something to reduce the lifespan and then reduce also the price. You can use some steps on the lifespan of the product, or actually analog system, but it's better to do it in steps during the lifespan. And you can choose if you really want to consume that certain product the same day, or you really want it to be fresh.
The goal is to make it a win-win situation for the consumer, so that it's easier, but at the same time it's less expensive. So of course they want to get all of their groceries at the same place. If they order perishable products from us and then they have to go to the store to get those fruits and vegetables, that doesn't work. It has to be, we have to ride on the laziness of people, make it a win-win situation for them.
Thank you. I think this is an excellent idea, and just about one idea regarding the development of this app further. Business Finland has financed so-called the development ecosystem for food chain production, and there's I think quite big grocery shops and other food chain operators, and maybe you could explain your idea to this ecosystem and think if they could also cooperate with you, and I could maybe tell your idea to person who is responsible for this ecosystem funding at the moment.
Yep, we can talk after.
Yeah.
I could continue from Krista's question, because I guess if you make some things very cheap and they go sort of cheaper day by day, it means that the first day would be quite expensive. And I think this is the issue, because the mean price needs to be the same, but then it means that very fresh food would be more expensive than before, which makes sense in a way. But then you just need to discuss this pricing scheme with and hear the opinion from the grocery stores. But I think this is a very good and logical idea.
Thanks.
And the time is up. Thank you, Increment. And sorry about the misspelling of your group's name. It's well, I'm a living proof that if you fail performing, it never kills you. So, the fifth pitch comes from Baltic Compass.
All right, hello everybody. My name is Andy. I'm from the Baltic Compass, and I'm joined by Sarah and Stine. We are the problem. We hear this every day. So we, bad humans, we are killing Mother Earth. How dare you? And we, at the Baltic Compass, think this is not working. People don't accept the negativity, so we want to be revolutionary. We want to say, we are the solution. You are the solution. The everyday consumer is the solution to this. So we want to approach this by publishing a book. We are calling it the Baltic Compass. It's a yearly published book, and this book is supposed to encourage the everyday consumer in his daily life to do good changes and good decisions. So the book answers this in two questions, basically. So the first part of the book is, how can I make an impact on the environment? And it is answering this by encouraging you to go, be a greedy consumer and go, but buy good products. So it's basically a token book that has, in this chapter, which is dining, 2-for-1 meals, and we're having an active call to action. Go there, try this, discover Helsinki, and find places that are doing and selling good products that are helping. The second part, which the book is answering, is, why should I care about Mother Earth? I mean, we're here in the city, but I think the Finns are very good at this. So this is a very important part that we take the research, for example, from Luke, which, honestly, I'm a designer, I don't get it. I don't understand it. And this is a very important part. Translate it in human language, make it interesting, make it interacting, and make it beautiful, of course. So we will start with the city of Helsinki. We're a small team. We need to make this, get this on the road, but of course the broader vision is to get it to all the Baltic cities, Tallinn, Stockholm, Riga, hopefully also to Russia if that's possible, and have a maximum impact on the Baltic Sea with this. The other broader vision for this is to create a vehicle for change. If you do have questions about this is an abstract concept, please do ask us afterwards. Our team is controlled of Stinne, she's editorial and marketing. We have Sarah, she's sustainability manager, and our partner outreach, and my name is Andy, I'm the art director and fund and publishing outreach. So we will be in stores by November 2018. To make this happen, we need 100,000 euros for everything. We need a Finnish business mentor because we're 2 Swiss and 1 Danish. We don't know about the Finnish business. And we need science partnerships like people from Luke to get these articles into the book and get them published. So thank you very much. We're open for questions now, and I'm going to ask the ladies to come on stage.
Thank you, lovely presentation. Just a question that normally I think this kind of idea would be solved by creating application, which would be easier to keep it up to date and scale up for different languages and different cities. And so I'm just curious, why did you choose book?
There's too many apps nowadays. Apps are not valid. People don't love an app, they just use it and then they stop using it. I think one important thing is that this is a wow object. This is a thing that you keep, that you have in your store, that you collect for every year. And one of the other very important aspects of this is that the people that care will probably buy this for themselves. But as you saw, we want to publish it in November, which means Christmas market. So we want this to be a gift. We want this, that you, the people that care, buy this, but you buy it for your papa, who doesn't care. So then he might start like discovering his own city and find things that he might like that are actually sustainable, that he didn't care about before, and start caring. So we think this gift object is a very important aspect to reach to, like you said, the people that don't care.
Oh yeah, and also just to add, we think it's also because we want to start a conversation between people. So if you sit at Christmas and you have this book and you flip through it and you see an article about how to properly recycle your milk cartons, maybe actually we start to talk about it and explore the book and explore it together, and we start conversations over the dinner table, over coffee, or while you're out having the sustainable pizza.
That's very, very good what you just said, because I was wondering about the same thing, that why isn't this an app, that how can you reach out to the crowds? But it's very important to try to change consumer behavior and try to reach out to those people who aren't actively thinking about this question. So that's why I think that your answer to the question was very good, and I buy it.
Yeah, I just want to say that I'm coming from Luke, and of course we will provide you this complicated information you will need. Good luck.
Yes, that would have been my next question. Like, our foundation often gets proposals for things, and they are not always sustainable if you dig to the core. So how do you select the sustainable products? Because I would bet that quite many people come to you and claim that my product is really, really sustainable. But yeah, so what are the criteria? How do you select?
Yeah, our main issue is to have quality and not quantity. So we have 20 to 30 coupons inside and not more. We want to build on trustful partnerships, and we want to choose products that are here inside that have a real impact on a cleaner Baltic Sea, like no meat, regional vegetables, and like we heard, the regional fish from sustainable fisheries, fish farms here, and no plastic.
So time's up, I'm sorry. Baltic Compass, everybody. And the next pitch comes from Azolla Solution.
The other way, this way, and then just click forward.
Hello, everybody. My name is Lucas Lindelöf, and I study biology, and I am from the Azolla Solution team. I'm very happy to be here and present our idea on how to deal with the problem, the biggest problem of the Baltic Sea, which is the eutrophication. Well, too much nutrients in the sea. As the solution, as we see it, is to get them out of there. And we want to do this by using a plant called Azolla. It's a very small but very powerful plant. It absorbs a lot of nutrients, such as nitrogen and phosphorus, and also toxic substances when it grows, which means it cleans the sea. It's also very reproductive and grows very fast. It lives in a symbiotic relationship with the cyanobacteria, which we all know from the Baltic Sea, which makes it very competitive, and it can fix the nitrogen from the air. And yeah, our plan is to cultivate these plants. Oh, sorry. Yeah, it doesn't work then. We want to cultivate the plants on a large scale, and these floating ponds that we have. Yeah, don't be scared about this picture. It's just very simplified picture, and yeah, we want to grow it, and these floating stations would be like water treatment stations. At the same time, we would use the seawater, and they would suck up the nutrients from the sea, and we would harvest it. And the the biomass that we would use to produce high-value products such as biofuel, or as the protein value of the plant is very high, we could also have good business opportunities in livestock feed, or why not human consumed products like protein products. So we see it as a good source for many business ideas that would work as a mean for financing this whole thing when we come to start with it. So the business idea would be like the way of financing the whole thing, partly. And yeah, if you wonder about the little blue mussel there, it's just an extra idea that we thought of. Why not combine these plant fields out there by growing blue mussels, which also clean the water very good by filtering the water, and it's very easy managed the cultivation of blue mussels. So it could be an extra source of business as well as also cleaning the water, which is the main purpose we want to reach with this project: improve the water quality and make the ecosystem thriving. Yes, so. We would all benefit from that. So thank you very much, and especially to the mentors here. It has been very inspiring this weekend, and we are really pleased for all the nice comments and feedback that we have got from you. Now I want questions, and my team member Hubert Lindholm, he studied economy and Hanken School of Economics. He will also answer questions, and we are. Yeah, I was studying biology in Helsinki. So, by the way, thank you.
Thank you. Very nice presentation and very good idea. Could you tell me why did you choose Azolla? Because I think it's an alien species, and I think there might be some kind of ecological risks if we are cultivating this kind of alien species in open water systems.
Yeah, definitely there are challenges. It's not native to our climate, but we have also thought of that, and we have many potential solutions for this problem. It's native in warmer countries, which makes it not potentially invasive in our countries because we have a colder climate. This would also, of course, sort of like, yeah, I mean, the growing season would not be the whole year around, as we can assume, but it's also a good thing because it would not be invasive in our climate. And
I think that this sounds very interesting, and I'm interested to hear about the Azolla plant. Is it used for food production for humans, or is it your new idea? Or is it your new idea?
No, for humans there are few just experiments and tests, but for livestock feed, like for animals, there are a lot of research, and they also use it mostly in Asia. It's used because it's really native there. And mostly, yeah, as I didn't maybe mention, it has also been used for wastewater treatment around the world. So it really works as a nutrient absorbing and also toxic substances it takes up. So it cleans the water really efficiently. And as it has this symbiotic relationship with the cyanobacteria, it's very competitive, as it can fix the nitrogen, and that's why it's very special. Yeah.
Yeah. You said that the Azolla lives in symbiosis with cyanobacteria, but are these the non-toxic ones then? Because otherwise you could for sure not use them for feed or...
Yeah, there are research about that, and I know the cyanobacteria, they produce these toxics, but it's as we heard earlier, it would be possible also to separate these, and yeah, a lot of studies and experiments show that it doesn't harm. For example, when it's used for livestock feed, it doesn't have any impact on the animals when they eat them. So it would work in this way.
And then you just would need to breed new ones every spring, because the poor Azollas would die in our...
Of course, yeah, they would die
climate.
for the winter, but you would, as you grow on a field and on agriculture on land, you would just put the Azolla back on the floating ponds and fields in the spring, and they would grow. And they really have the capacity to reproduce. Like in a few days, they double the biomass, so they grow very fast and bring a lot of biomass with it.
Yeah, I just want to note that it's really good that new innovations are coming. Although I can understand it may take some time, but this is good.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys. Azolla solution. And the next pitch is illuminate.
Okay, hello. We are Team Illuminate, and this is a collection of 5 scientists from different backgrounds and different fields, but we have common interests. Baltic Sea is one of them. So we've heard lots about eutrophication, and we all know it's a major problem in the Baltic Sea. And we know it originates from nutrient inputs that have been too excessive and results in phytoplankton blooms. But it's a global problem as well, so it's more than just the Baltic. And it results in these anoxic or hypoxic zones, which are dead zones, essentially, which are especially common in the Baltic Sea. So how do we get there? How does this happen? We all know that the excessive nutrient inputs results in uncontrolled algal blooms. These sink to the sediments, and in the sediments you get hydrogen sulfide production, and you get anoxic zones forming, which kills off the biota and the possibility of things to survive. But in the surface areas where it's so you've got sunlight coming in, you get algal growth at a steady rate, and you get oxygen production and healthy environments. So, what's the solution we have? We would like to set a floating device out on the surface of the water with a light collector, and this would transfer then light through a fiber optic cable to a disperser lower down in the water column in these areas where they've been affected by poor light and oxygen conditions. This would disperse the light, catalyze growth of algae, release oxygen, use up nutrients, and because it's not a bloom scenario, you'd feed them slowly into the rest of the food web, producing zooplankton, which are the next step above algae, which is essentially fish food. So you get a nice growth within the food web as well. Why is this positive? There's two reasons. One, it could use natural sunlight. We have a system where you could transfer natural sunlight through a collector. The other possibility you could do is using specifically tuned LEDs designed for plant growth. They're used in greenhouses. You could apply these quite easily. They could be used on local scales. For fish farms is an extremely interesting possibility we've discussed recently. And then in enclosed bays. And we have two companies we've spoken to, a marine engineering company, a shipping engineering company, a solar lighting company in Gothenburg. And then we've had some very interesting discussions with fisheries and other related people at Deep here today. So why are we here? We have an idea, we have a design, we think it works, we have a very skilled team. And over the weekend, we've had a lot of questions and comments, a critical review of the idea, and we still think it works. And now we want a partnership to support and build this.
Thank you. Time's up.
Thank you for a novel idea, I would say. My question would be, if you have anoxic bottom conditions, so no oxygen in the bottom, and if you increase production like close to these bottoms, then you also increase organic matter that sort of goes to this bottom. So wouldn't it also increase these anoxic bottom conditions?
We believe it won't. Because if you produce them, the bloom conditions cause the anoxic bottoms because there's such a biomass that's never incorporated into the food web. These would be a steady rate because it's not relating to a bloom scenario. So then this would just feed into the zooplankton community that's naturally there and then feed into fish production. So you don't end up with the huge sedimentation in one go that causes this condition. So it should do exactly the opposite.
Yeah, I think this is a great idea, and I can promise you that Luca will help you to find partners.
Thank you.
Do you have knowledge on how these spotlights would impact the fish and the other animals in the sea?
Not specific knowledge, but it would certainly have an effect. But because the idea would be to do it in sort of specific areas, or it would be localized, so you wouldn't be illuminating the entire sea surface. The idea is to create a movement towards a better ecosystem status by catalyzing this initial process. So, but it would surely influence fish and dark living zoobenthos at the bottom.
In the end, it's just increasing the photic zone. I mean, we're mainly talking about bringing the natural sunlight just in deeper water so that the natural processes can also work there and counteract the hypoxia.
So if we are talking about the piloting of this technology, how many devices you would expect to have to testing the effect, and what kind of funding you would need? What is the size of funding? And
so, from our backgrounds, because we're research scientists, then our initial idea is a lab-based test, but you could easily skip that into a small-scale pilot test.
Yeah.
And we have a very rough calculation of 200,000 to 300,000 euros would give us a pilot test.
Okay, and how many devices you would use then?
You could put out one of the ideas we discussed with this shipping engineering company was that you could build like essentially a floating platform, and you could put multiple of the solar collectors Okay. Onto this. So then you could have quite a large dispersal of light under the water from that. So it would depend on your, you'd have to scale it to a suitable price, essentially.
Okay, and what kind of markets you are expecting? Is it only feeding to the Baltic Sea area, or do you expect to have some kind of markets in other areas as well?
Well, what we came up now during this weekend was that it could be an association with fish farms, for example, because they are point sources of nutrient input and pollution in that sense. And then if you would build devices around the enclosement cages, for example, that could then counteract like the negative impact. So I think because we are unlikely to solve the problem with light in like the deep basins of the Baltic Sea on like really big scales, but on the small scales with seasonal hypoxia or this localized impacts on aquaculture, for example, that could be good for the Baltic and also then for aquaculture all around the world.
Yeah, I tend to agree that it's on the spot solution.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Thank you. Time's up. And we will continue. And now I made my homework during the previous pitch. I know the name of the group. It's Nomaji.
Okay. Hello, my name is Mari Ariluoma and I'm landscape architect, and I want you to imagine the future where our urban waterfronts would actually impact positively on the state of the Baltic Sea. So so actually the way how we build nowadays urban waterfronts and coastal areas, it's not so good for the Baltic ecosystems. And we believe that there are other ways to do that. And why we have to affect and change the way in urban areas and urban waterfronts is because on those areas where people actually live and spend their time, those are the areas where the problems are also most visible and kind of tangible for everybody. And this is, of course, a knowledge raising issue, but these solutions that we are proposing, they can actually have a true impact or direct impacts as well. And so we want to create showcases of novel Baltic ecosystems. We already have a lot of ideas of what kind of systems those can be. They can kind of be merchants of technological, social and natural systems. The systems are based on natural biotopes in the Baltic Sea area, so it's also a restoration project, but we can incorporate different technologies, for example, those that we have seen here and heard here today. And how to make this real? We actually first need to support better decision making and better design solutions. And for this, we want to develop a tool which is called Baltic Factor. It's a tool that it takes into consideration the past and the potentials of a specific site, and then proposes new novel ecosystems that are suitable for a given location. And yeah, this is a very cost-efficient solution. It's based on an existing idea that is already in use in Baltic region, a tool which is called Green Factor for land areas. And now we think that this kind of method and approach could be applied to marine areas also. And we need a network for developing the tool. We already have a good collaboration network from our previous experiences, but now we want to create this new tool with new collaboration network, and also we are interested in piloting the showcases of these novel Baltic ecosystems. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Sounds really good, and it's true that the coastal areas are really important for people and for recreation. So my question would be that is Baltic Factor like a joint planning tool, or what is like? Is it like some internet-based joint planning tool? Or how does it work? I maybe didn't get the like final point.
Yeah, I think there are many possibilities. It could be a kind of platform or something, but I think that it could take the green factor tools, which is an existing method, as an example. So it's a tool which cities use. So they put these target values in detailed and master plans, and then they kind of steer the way how the environment is built. So I think there are many possibilities of how the tool can be used. I think we still have to develop that, how this marine thing can be used. But of course, the cities and municipalities, they have a power to impact how the coastal areas are developed.
Thank you. Very good pitch. I was wondering. What's your business idea? What's your business idea in general? Is it like selling landscaping through this platform, or is the platform proposing automized ideas, or how does it work?
Well, we want to create a kind of new standard of how we build and develop our urban waterfronts, and of course we then want to be part of kind of designing these things. But of course, I think that everybody else should do that as well. So we want to do like more bold and different and designs and landscape designs and urban designs for the future. And I think that nowadays we need kind of new tools to support and encourage cities and everybody to do these things, because nowadays we just, for some reason, we do very convenient things that are not good for the Baltic Sea. So it's kind of, we want to be part of, we want to do this, and we have a landscape architecture studio, so we are designing these things, but we have to kind of create the demand and understanding that this is how things could be done.
Thank you. Excellent idea again. And do you have any concrete partners? Do you see some cities which could pilot this, or have you done this kind of work before? Do you have some kind of reference which you could maybe?
Well, I think any city could pilot this, and we have ongoing projects where we could start discussing with cities about this. But I think it needs we need to just maybe some support from. There are different organizations where we might get support, and so we could start like serious discussing with different cities and to find those pilot sites. And I think we already have some like preliminary ideas of where to start from.
But you're expecting at the moment financial support or support to raise this idea for the cities, or what is the priority in your case at the moment?
Yeah, I think that some financial support is probably needed to encourage the cities to be bold enough to test new things, because that's usually the problem, that they don't want to take risks.
And we'd also like to get some funding to develop the tool.
Okay. And how much you're expecting to have a funding, roughly?
Roughly for the development of the tool. Well, I think maybe 100,000 euros.
Okay, and a good partner.
Yeah. Time's up now. Thank you, Numaji, ladies and gentlemen. And then we have the final pitch of the day. And this will be presented by Keyline.
Okay, last one. Hi, my name is Chris. I'm from the group Keyline Design Landscape Water Management. So it's great to be at the end so that I don't have to explain the problem. But actually, there is another issue, and that is poor water management on the land. And we are experiencing climate change, which means that things like this will happen more and more. So basically, the water is going from the high elevation to the sea and taking with it the runoff, the nutrients, the microplastics, you name it. And this is what it's because of the way we design our landscapes and our cities. We are designing the water to go away fast, and we are designing the water not to infiltrate into the soil. But we have a solution. Keyline design. We're using gravity and nature for managing water resources in urban and rural landscapes. This is a picture of a farm in Sweden where they use contouring techniques, very simple and very effective, to infiltrate water. Water into the soil. In urban environments, we can think of many different design solutions, but just to give you a simple example, this is a piece of green where there's a tree growing, and up there the water comes in, infiltrates into the soil. The tree evaporates the water, grows, maybe even grows some food, and then if there is excess water, it will go to the next tree. We need to do these types of solutions in our cities as well. So benefits, preventing floods, lower expenses for maintenance and pumping and drainage systems, complicated, higher quality green areas, and fixation of carbon. In rural landscapes, it can look like this. This is a just planted tree line and key line design farm. It's still compatible with modern machinery, but it has trees. It's fixing carbon. It's infiltrating the water into the soil, bringing the soil back to life. And when you do that, you have less need of fertilizer. And it will give you a more stable farming environment for the future where the climate is uncertain. So what we offer, design services, consultation, introductions to Keyline framework.
Time's up, I'm afraid.
Thank you very much. My team.
Thank you. This is addressing many serious problems, I think so. So I think this is a very good idea. But I would like to hear more about what you were getting into, I think, about your business model and how it looks. How are you working?
Yeah, so we can work with anyone who's interested in this, and we will offer basically the design assistance, ideation, introduction to the concepts, and explaining how to implement it. Whether it's farmers, whether it's cities, it doesn't matter.
Thank you for an excellent pitch, and I think this is really an idea which is relevant for tackling these global challenges, especially this, for example, this microplastic issue and things like that. So I really buy this idea. But I was just a little bit puzzling that what are you expecting for us? Because it sounded like a more or less ready products and services. Do you need some kind of development assistance still, or what are you expecting? Expectation.
What we actually are asking is just that we need customers. So we need brave municipalities, or we need farmers to collaborate with us. So we just need somebody to be brave and to try our
so raise awareness
product.
and have some municipalities which could purchase this kind of
because
products.
we have the idea, but we need some piloting project. So somebody who's willing to try.
Okay, very good.
One city.
Yeah, and I know that this kind of things are already in use. For example, in Stockholm, there is much more of say this. How do you call it? It's not active carbon, but it's this like there is this new innovation which you can use to biochar. Yes, biochar type of innovations, and in Stockholm it is sort of flying much better than in Finland at the moment. So I think you are just in time, and I think the city of Helsinki is taking these kinds of initiatives and taking it quite seriously. So I think you could be in contact with them. But what will be maybe more challenging is how to get the farmers in. So do you have a plan for that?
Well, we have a few farmers that are going to start this season with certain small design implementations, but we would like to have more, and we are going to reach out to more farmers and trying to see how we can help them manage their water on their farm more efficiently. So, but yes, this is the main challenge right now for us is to find them and to start working.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you could get things like this into the agri-environmental support scheme, for sure there would be a lot of customers coming in. But yeah, so maybe you have this long-term political goal of now that the negotiations are going on to get something like this into the scheme.
Yes, of course. Yeah.
And time's up. Thank you, Keyline. All right, next up it's brunch time. So we are a bit late. We were supposed to be done by 12 and now it's 15 past. And as we learned yesterday, if you spend too much time conversating with each other and don't concentrate on your eating, it delays the whole process. So basically it's nice that you get along, but put the brunch in first place and conversation to the second. So the brunch is served right up where we ate on Friday, the bistro. So please move over and we will meet here in an hour and a half. So let's all meet here at 13:45. And then we're all in time in our places to hear the winners and the other prize winners. And there is a perk, there's going to be bubbly, so it's free alcohol and prizes.